So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, again. We're back to segment 2 of our off-season with Coach Raymond Wilson. Segment 1 was dynamic. I encourage you to go back to our timeline on IG and you can watch it. But you can also wait until we post it on our YouTube page, which is UB Mingoes, UB Athletics Mingoes, sorry, on YouTube, as well as you can wait until we post it on our Facebook page and on SoundCloud via 10th Year Senior. I want to give a special shout out to all of our past and present volleyball players that are logged in this episode, as well as give a shout out to all of the head coaches that have logged on. I think successfully I can say every head coach is logged on to this episode. I think that's very good. It speaks to the brand and what we encourage at the university. So shout out to the UB Athletics Department, your leadership team, and your head coaches for tuning in for this episode, as well as all of you, our audience. So, Coach, you left on a beautiful point, and I want to take on the first question I saw there, which was to ask you directly again, how do we promote volleyball at a national level?
Volleyball at a national level, it takes more than a handful of persons. Okay, for years, a few persons have been trying to develop various programs, but it needs a team of individuals who are committed to the development of the disciplines. You can have persons calling themselves coaches and trainers, wanting to develop programs, but then when something happens at fish fry, they're not there at practice. When something kicks up, they're not there. They're not at practice. They at various events. The coach or trainer should be the first person at practice and the last person to leave. A coach is not a god unto himself, but a coach is a person who relies on the individuals around him to develop the discipline. I say that simply because a lot of persons want everybody to believe that, oh, I did this is my athlete, that's my athlete, and so forth. A coach or trainer does not own an athlete. You don't own no athlete. Okay, you have a hand in development of those athletes. Okay, even my kids. My kids came up under me, but I was not the only person who had a hand in their development. Okay, not just physically, but mentally also. Sometimes when I couldn't get through to my son or my daughter, I leave it to Coach Joe. You know what I mean? And he would deal with them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is that we need a core of individuals who are dedicated. Okay, and it has to start in the beginning. What's happening is that it's not just the high school programs that are failing. Now we have some coaches who are getting involved in assisting the various high school, in their development. But it's other than that, other than high school, there's no real junior programs, whereas kids are playing against their peers. When I played basketball, we had mini, we had super mini, we had junior, we had B League, and we had A League in basketball. Okay? Volleyball is yet to have a junior league. A lot of the other discipline is yet to have a junior league. One thing I respected Coach Vince Ferguson for was that he was a man who put his foot down, and he told persons who were bringing in teams into the basketball league that in order for you to participate at the A level in basketball, you need to have a mini and a junior team. Mm-hmm. Secondly, you have a lot of persons who they done hitting 35, hitting 40, but they still want to play competitive. They're not looking at the next arena of play as being coaches, right, or having the desire to be a coach. Another thing that is now too, even at the various leagues, and especially basketball and volleyball, persons don't have to try out to make a team no more.
Whoa!
All you have to do is they don't try out. When I played sports, you try it out for a couple of months. And then on Dome's Day, you sat down on the wall or you sat down in the gym, okay? And the coach would say, now it's time to take out the cut list. So people can get cut today. You know what I mean? The Cougars, Stansfield Ferguson used to say, we are cutting the team today to give you an opportunity that if you did not make it on this squad, you'll be able to try out for another team. And sometimes when you hear your name called just like you didn't hear your name called, because you're going to ask the person next to you, did you hear my name? Did you hear my name? Because you really wanted to make that team. And that was in all the disciplines. Basketball, volleyball, softball, all had a period as you try out. And if you didn't successfully make the cut, you did not make the team. But now you have people showing up to the gym and they're given a jersey to go on the court and perform. You know, that's the breakdown. Okay? You have persons who feel that they're too good, they don't want to practice. If a person is too good to practice or too busy to practice, how could they make games? If you can't make a sacrifice, and see, that's where the problem starts too with respect for coaches and trainers. You know what I mean? You take away your respect when you allow an individual to come into your program without coming through the proper channels to make your team. So a lot of these mistakes that we are making in recent years is causing us to always be on a roller coaster. Some years we have it good in sports, some years we don't. You know, when I look at I just came into the University of the Bahamas, but I look at Coach Barker's. I say, man, there's something. I said, this man, he have a lot on his shoulder. I said, because you have quality athletes that can do well, not just here in the league, but also well internationally. But they don't see the picture. They don't see the bigger picture that, listen, we could win in our division internationally. You know what I mean? So what they do? They don't want to sacrifice the fish fry. They don't want to sacrifice the time to go in the box.
Yeah.
I look at our volleyball team also. You know what I mean? Sometimes we have a good opportunity to win a game, but athletes now, some of them, I have to go to work, or I have to this, or I have to that. You know what I mean? 4 years of sacrifice is worth the fruit that you're going to receive at the end of the day. You know, so when I look at the development for our country, we need to get to the point where we get a core of individuals who are determined to push the disciplines forward, whereby we can become very successful, not just as a nation, as a people, but as individuals.
Coach, I'm going to actually watch this over because the conversation and the feelings I'm getting from it, of course, everybody knows Pauline Davis, and she gave me that same kind of energy of what's needed for the country and what people are fighting for. So it's good to have this kind of content and information. I want to get into the second question I saw on the page, which is, of course, volleyball doesn't start until grade 7. What can be done for us to get it to our young ones so they can learn these fundamentals at an earlier age?
Like I said, when athletes become a certain age, they got to start looking towards giving back to the discipline that made them successful. And that is not happening. Okay? I know one of the things Coach Anna from Cuba, she told me, she said that when you become 35, don't care how good you is, you could be the best setter in the world at that time, you could be the best hitter. At 35, you are no longer on the national team. You have to find another role in the national program to assist in the development of the athletes that's coming behind you. See, because, like, for instance, Cuba have like 3 national teams, each looking at each other's shoulder. The A team is looking behind at the young athletes that's coming up, because they say, hey, this guy is coming close to taking my job. And the athlete who in the B squad is looking at him saying, you know something, I'm coming for your job. and the
Wow.
C, that's how it is. You know, it's an aggressive thing Because if you don't stay on your game, then you lose your sport. So at 35, like for instance, there's a guy back in the day called the Spaniard, and he was Cuba's best at that time. He was the world's best. At 35, he had to step down. See, because every generation needs to have the opportunity to succeed or fail.
Mm-hmm.
You might say, oh, the person is 35, 40, but they stay playing good, but you're losing younger athletes along the way. Okay? So when you start hitting 35, you need to preach to our people that, listen, we got to start having other programs. I went to a tournament in Orlando some years ago with my athletes, and I tell you no lie, they had 8 different age group or division of play, okay, and they play like in a more like environment, storehouse, and they had like about 16 courts, and each division played at the same time on those various courts. So as you play from one court and you win, you go to the next, and you go to the next, and this is an all age category. What needs to happen is we need to do something similar to that in our country, whereby kids starting from primary school can get into development. And I'm not just talking about volleyball. I'm talking about all the disciplines. Okay, because most times you get a hold of an athlete, they're already 16, 17. That's a long way off. In order for you to be able to develop the Olympic athlete, we're talking about professional now. We're talking about Olympic. In order for you to develop an Olympic athlete, girls start at the age of 11. I'm talking about basketball and volleyball. Girls start at the age of 11. Boys start at the age of 12. Boys develop a little slower than girls. So by the time that kid reaches 18, they are almost at their peak performance. You understand what I'm saying? When you look at the Kobe Bryant
But coach, if I may, coach, I don't mean to cut you, but I look on social media and I'm seeing children in, let's say, America. When I say children, I mean real children from the age 5, 6, 7, dribbling and doing volleyball or running track. So I know you're saying 11 and 12, but is there a reason why you're not telling people maybe earlier?
The reason why some people do start their kids off earlier, and it's because of that individual. But I started my daughter Curie off earlier. I started Prince and Theo off at the correct age. I started Curie off at 9 because she was along. Mm-hmm. Okay? But the reason for it is because you do not want to damage the kids at an early age because their bones are still soft, okay, and they're developing. You put kids, see, some kids are different from other kids, so they develop stronger and faster. But when you're talking about averagely, okay, you don't want to have kids on a weight program before it's time.
Right.
Okay? Swimming, okay? Kids can get into swimming at a very early age, okay? But when you're talking about the sport like basketball and volleyball, baseball and softball, you have to be careful because you don't want to hurt them. You don't want to damage them in their development, their physical development. It's that these kids wouldn't learn and be able to participate and compete. But you're talking about the longevity of them to be able to play this sport at a high level.
And this is a good segue. Ladies and gentlemen, please continue to drop your questions. We want to get as much as possible in this time period. But this is, again, a good segue into a question I gave Ms. Woodside, which is, what in your coaching expertise would you prefer in a player? I'm guessing. Would you prefer the specific person who's only good at one sport or somebody who has a variety? And I say this because in this day and age in professional sports, we know that Rondo also could have gone into football. We know LeBron could have gone into football, you know? So it's so many great players in athletics all around who were good at multiple sports. So I'm curious as a coach, what would your preference be in getting a specific, I'm only good at volleyball, or somebody like Ms. Woodside who has a history in something you didn't even know?
See, the first thing you have to do is look at what is an athlete. That's the first thing. And once you understand what is an athlete, then you understand that the other disciplines are just cross training. What people tend to do, for the sake of their program, they want athletes only for playing or performing in one discipline. I learned from my tutors, Coach Anna, and from the professors that I had in Peru, that sometimes you can have kids that comes into your program who are not athletes, and it's going to be very difficult to teach them anything. So with hard work, you can teach them a specific task to perform. They may become a good volleyball player, a good basketball player, because it comes from hard work. But the athlete is an individual. You throw a ball in his hand, he knows what to do with it. Whoa. You put him on the track, he knows how to run. An athlete you're able to teach an athlete things relatively easy. Okay? Some of the things that we did, I did under Coach Anna. Someday she'll bring out the basketball and she'll let them play pickup as a warm-up. But one of the striking things she did, she said, before we select our team in Cuba, so we pick out our athletes. So what we did every day in our early selection, we let them come out, they run the 800. You log down who's the best time. They run the 400. This is volleyball now. Okay? You log down the time. You let them run the 200, the 100. Log down the time. They do this for successive weeks. And we see how they improve and how they develop. You let them do long jump, mark the time. High jump, vertical jump. Okay? These were the things. And out of the numbers, she pulled out those who were in the top categories of all of those various categories. And she said, these are now your athletes. Now they say they do it like that, and also they do it based on genetics. Who your mother was, who your father was. You pick out the athletes.
Perfect.
Because once you get an athlete.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, that's a perfect segue into a question I had on my mind. I grew up with JKS, right, Javon. So I know his father, Jason. I know of when, like, Javon, sorry I put you on blast, right? I know of when Javon was pissed, and he's like, boy, my daddy tell me I ain't got that fire that he had, right? So you speak of genetics. You speak of course, Curie, yourself. We think of we have Livy, but we have Coach Carr, right? And then even with Coach Roll and athletic director Kimberly Roll, of course, their sons are in sports. So how important is genetics for coaches to select their athletes in this day and age?
It's very important. You have to pay close attention to genetics. If you even look at people like Kobe and those, their parents, their father and so forth played basketball. Okay, some of their mothers played a sport. You understand what I'm saying? And when you look at it, if I'm a basketball player, chances are there's going to be a basketball bouncing around in my house. Okay, that kid's going to pick up that basketball. So without even teaching them things, some stuff, just watching you. When they go to the game, that kid's going to be at the game. You know, so they seeing some things, they doing some things. When they go into training, that kid is watching me train. And if they have my genes don't fail. The same way as you have that genetic print. My nose is my daddy's nose. My eyes is my mommy's eyes.
Right.
Exactly. That print is also in your athleticism. You understand?
Right.
And so that's very, very good. Now, I told Olivia, and I don't know if she believes me yet, but I tell her that she could become the best outside hitter in this country. Now, the only thing Olivia's lacking is that she had the spirit of Cora had. She had the heart of Cora had.
Get a coach. I
grew up watching Cora play. And Cora and Jenny, they were fierce people. You know what I mean? They were fierce. And the reason why they were fierce is because they fear nobody. And because they had no fear. You know what I mean? They didn't worry about the person on the opposite side or the person next to them. You understand what I'm saying? Olivia is an excellent player, and also she's a good captain. You know, I give her props for that. You know what I mean? And she's learning that, you know something? I cannot let the weight of the team prevent me from performing at a peak level. She's learning that. And I guarantee you by the time that she's ready to finish at the University of the Bahamas, she's going to be that athlete that all of us would be proud of. You know, you have Rika also, she comes from a line of athletes. You know what I mean? And so when you look at genetics is the blueprint. If you take a blueprint for my home and use that same blueprint to build somebody else's home, the home is going to be identical. The only difference is the competitive nature of that individual. The skill will be there, the technique, the talent will be there. Okay, but what coaches cannot teach is a heart to win. We can speak of that. We can push that, and we can probably try and program that as much as possible. But unless an athlete become a student of the game and have that will, then the genetics is nothing without the work. So we just can't have the genetics. We have to have the genetics and the will to work.
And Coach, we have one final question before we end this session. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't see any more questions, so this may be the final if I don't get anything in 2 minutes. But what are your plans then for Lady Mingoes Volleyball team development over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I know that our director, she has a vision. And the vision is not just to say that we have teams in various disciplines performing at the University of the Bahamas. I believe that the vision is for us to be not just successful in the local leagues, because a time will come whereas we will no longer be performing in the local leagues. A time will come whereas we'll be performing at the collegiate level, at the college level, at the university level. Okay? See, the problem is that Bahamian athletes needs to understand and realize that, hey, you can be a part of making history. Okay? We are still thinking that foreign is better, going off to the foreign colleges and so forth. But somebody has to start the trend of becoming a role model for the University of the Bahamas. I feel that this year we're going to have an excellent, if we do get around to play, we're going to have an excellent program. And that's moving in the direction our director wants us to go. First thing she said one of the first things she said to me was that we don't want to embarrass ourselves, because embarrassing ourselves is not good for the program. In order for us to get the things that we want to move forward, we need first to move forward. We need to first make the first step in becoming successful at what we do. We need to be able to show good performance, to show that we are a good product. And once we show the Bahamas that we are a good product, we'll go to the next level. So I see us in the next 5 years doing wonders. You know, I look at everything is already set in place, you know. All of the trainers, the way we treat our athletes, they get a belly full, they get someplace to lay their head. Yeah. You know, see, people don't understand those little things adds up.
Right.
When you look at what is being invested into the University of the Bahamas athletes, if you add it up, it's a whole lot of money.
You hit it on the head, Coach Wilson. Every alumni athlete we speak to who were in the program with Ms. Roll, and even before that, the number one thing they mention is how much they needed this meal plan. So when they hear athletes getting 2 and 3 meals a day, they like, what?
Yeah. You see? So I see her vision, and I see the development from with regards to the other discipline. And then you're talking about track and field, and we have in persons who doing world standard here at the University of the Bahamas.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
It shows you that that first step forward that the program directors, Sean Bastian and Kimberly Roll, they're making, it shows that the first step are giant steps. So if the coaches and the athletes be serious about this thing, in the next 5 years, you'll be the talk of the town.
I believe that too, Coach. And shout outs to Athletic Director Kimberly Roll and Assistant Director Sean Basin. I think the program speaks for itself. Julio Jamison on national teams, beach soccer
Right.
and field soccer. You have Jody Clark, who played female beach soccer. You have Sophia Cartwright, who was on our international women's softball team. Coach Sheehan, Coach Roll, who both went off to be Olympic standards, like coaches, yourself, you have, it's the list goes on. And of course, you can't forget the Kendrick Thompson, the Ken Munnings. These are students, these are Bahamian, fully trained at the University of the Bahamas students who are doing tremendous stuff. And their history speaks for itself. Shout back out to
Exactly.
Julio, right? Julio came in the program in track and field. I didn't know that.
Exactly.
I didn't know that, but now we, sadly because of this injury, but she's gonna get healed. But the list goes on. Shout outs to Michael, who became the first Bahamian goalkeeper in beach soccer to ever score a goal. So history, I think it goes back to your statement. History is being now set here, and people are now putting their scopes here. Of course, Coach Edna, I feel sorry for him. Every time Ken and Kendrick break record, I be like, boy. I know they keep blowing up his phone. Like, how can I come? But ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of the show. Coach Wilson, I want to say how much I've been watching you as a man to learn things. I study our head coaches. Not because you guys are males. I study you. I study you because you guys are example of godly males. So yourself, you did something. I want to ask it. There's something I always want to ask you. Before you were head coach, or I knew you were head coach, I saw you to 3 volleyball games, and you literally were just like this watching. I always wanted to ask, this is before you became head coach. I always wanted to ask, what was going through your mind? And because after that watching, the next time I saw you, it was 8 o'clock at night on UV court, down 1, 2, 3. So I'm always, I always thinking, what was going through your mind at that point watching the Lady Mingoes before you took over?
See, what needs to happen is that as being a coach and a trainer, you have to know what you're up against. Okay? If your team ended in 5th position, the last tournament they played in, a lot of people they come with a plan. Okay, well, I came 5th. I want to come first the next time. But in order to become first, you have to be able to defeat that team that came 4th. So you have to look at a development program that will get you from 5th to 4th. Okay, and along the way, if you're successful enough, you might come 3rd or 2nd, okay? But you have to use a proper yardstick to watch your athletes, watch their development, watch what they need to do, watch what mistakes that they're making. So you have to always be a student of the game. You have to watch the opponent, see where they're weak, where they're strong, okay? So you have to always be analyzing, strategizing. And in order to do this, you just don't go to the field and say, okay, we're going to work on this, we're going to work on that. No, you go to the field with a purpose and a plan for our next level. Okay, and once you do that, then your program will develop properly. See, you don't want a warp program. You don't want to put a pressure on your 5th place team. You don't want to put a pressure on them become a 1st place team, prematurely. You want them to build their confidence over a period of time. Sometimes it's a long process, but eventually their confidence will be built. And once a player, an athlete gets confidence, it's tough. And that is where we are now. We're developing our confidence. We have athletes who weren't doing very well when they first came in, but they have built their confidence, not only just a level of play or their ability to play, but they're building their confidence.
And I don't want to call any names because your captain tell me stop ruining our teammates' names. I can leave it alone, right? But I can think of so many people I can call. But ladies and gentlemen, this is our show off season. This is head coach of our Lady Mingoes Volleyball team, Coach Raymond Wilson. Any final words for the audience before we close today, sir?
Yeah, I would like to say to our audience, one of the things I like, I saw that's being instituted is that other athletes from other disciplines are going around and they're supporting the other discipline. They're attending games, okay? And when this happens, it encourages the teams that you supporting to do better. It's not like hearing somebody in the gym, not heckling you, but trying to build you up, whether you win or whether you lose. My final word to everybody involved at the University of the Bahamas: be in a prime position to become history makers. And if you want to make history, and if you want your name in the history book as a player, as an athlete, or as a coach, is to follow the vision. Follow the vision. Do not rob the program. Follow the vision. Stay firm. Stay on point. And try everything within your power to meet the goal. Because history is made once. It's only made once. And once that's made, your name in the books forever. Right. And I want to make history at the University of the Bahamas. So I'll encourage everybody else to have the same desire.
Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you, if you ever home and you just need a little bit of motivation, come back on the timeline, watch this episode again. I enjoyed myself. I've been encouraged from it. So I want to thank all of you for tuning in to another episode of Off Season. You're encouraged again to stay tuned to our Facebook page and YouTube, where we will repost at a later date, as well as you can log in to 10th Year Senior on their part, where we'll be posting some of our greatest episodes over for you, our listening audience. Thank you again. Coach, thank you for your time, and everybody safe during this COVID lockdown.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Good program.